Hey guys, it's Tiffany with the next chapter with Tiffany. I wanted to jump on here and say thank you again for all of the great feedback and support that I've been getting. It's overwhelming and I can't thank you enough. And of course, I'll say thank you as well from Dr. Becky because this last one seemed to really touch a lot of people. And that being said, I wanted to kind of put out there this part two is a little triggering possibly for some people. I go deep on this one and it's something I don't talk about and some things that happened in my past that I just felt like I had a safe platform and a safe place to be able to speak to Dr. Becky. She's so easy to talk to and it wasn't planned. It just came out. Therefore, I need to put a trigger warning on here for anybody that might have had an incident in your past that something was done against your will. So please just be aware that that subject is talked about fairly extensively on this episode. So I hope that doesn't cause any issues, but it's just one of those things that I'm all about transparency. I'm all about honesty. And that's the one thing that I definitely want to have on this platform is total transparency and honesty. And I believe that it helps to talk about things too. It helps to deal with things, put them in the right perspective, and having somebody like Dr. Becky with her professionalism and all of her knowledge to have her be able to counsel me actually get free therapy on this platform was pretty amazing. So I think you guys will really enjoy this episode. I know I watched it again last night as I was editing and was blown away by the content that we are actually putting out there. So thank you guys so much. And don't forget to like, subscribe, follow on every platform that I have. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I plan on growing this thing, and Dr. Becky and I are going to definitely do some more things together, which I'm so excited about. This is part two of our two-part series with Dear Dr. Becky, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you again.
Right? I'm not just going to find some way to cope with this situation. I'm going to do something about it.
Exactly.
I'm going to change my thoughts. I'm going to change my emotions. I'm going to change my behaviors, or I'm going to change the situation. We have power to do all of those things. And maybe we need to do several of them. Maybe we just need to do one of them.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the word surviving. And so coping and surviving to me just kind of like are fluid because surviving, you can say survived in past tense has more power than surviving because I survived something and I came out of it and I triumphant, right? If I'm surviving, I'm status quo, like, meh. Yeah, day to day, meh, 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 meh. Like Eeyore, I'm surviving, you know?
So lucky, or
okay, yeah, that sounds really exciting. So I do like the fact that you change up the terminology of things a little bit and say, okay, we're not going to see, you're not going to have coping, and surviving is good as long as there's an end goal to it and it doesn't stay status quo for years and years and years and years. Because you know, sometimes you go, how you doing? I'm surviving.
Yeah.
People answer you, you're going, sounds pretty boring to me, you know? I mean, are you living? Are you really enjoying life? You know, surviving's like, meh, meh. So it just hit me when you were talking about changing up the words a little bit and using a more positive, more action oriented type of a thing or phrase or word instead of meh, meh, you know, because it has a lot to do with it. And I feel like I definitely feel that I have always been a survivor. And that is to me kind of after the fact. Yes. Okay. Bounce back. Yes. Bounce back. And, you know, I do have speaking of survivor, I do know that I have a kind of a traumatic thing. It is traumatic actually in my past that I am a survivor and I have never, I've never talked about it because it was something I always felt like I put myself in that scenario willingly, but to have it go wrong. So I got myself there, but I didn't choose to have happen what happened. I did not ask for that. So that was 17. And I do believe that that has definitely helped in a negative way, helped me get to where I was for many, many years with my erratic behavior and decisions and anxious, all those things,
Yeah.
attaching to people and trust issues big time. So I will someday get to that point that I'm accepting that it wasn't my fault because I put myself in that situation, you know? So I mean, what are your thoughts on, now that we've just totally shifted there? I just didn't really plan on talking about that, but um, what are your
Gosh.
thoughts about something like that happening and
Yeah.
then what that affects your decisions in relationships?
Yeah, you're huge. It's huge, and honestly, gosh, I love to have some discussion just about that, a long
Yeah,
discussion, because that is something I see so often, especially with females, and them taking blame for something that is not at all theirs to take blame for. And I have a
yeah,
lot to say about that, because it doesn't matter where you put yourself in a situation. If something goes against what you expect and what you want, and it's not something that you had any intention of, it is never ever your fault.
right.
Never ever. And I
Yeah,
have a lot of words I can say about that, um, because I see it so common. Um, I think we should talk about that a little further, Tiffany. I'm going to suggest
okay,
that we can talk about that, because I think it's very empowering, and I think women need to hear it. Younger women, especially, and the older women who've been through those kind of things, need to hear it. I do want to come back, though, to your overall statement, which was how that's affected your attachment. And I will say, absolutely, you're 100% right, because I think that's the limitation of these attachment theories. And if you look at the critics, they will talk about there's a lot more that goes into attachment than just, how we were born and how our parents
right.
raised us, because of what you just described. Perfect example, going through traumatic events. And I am really sorry that you had to go through a traumatic event.
Thank
Well,
you.
had to go through is not the right word, but you went through a traumatic
Right,
event. And those things definitely shape us. They can completely change our trajectory. They can completely change our personalities even. They have such a huge impact on us. They can completely change anything about us when we go through traumatic situations, because we're not the same after that. We just aren't. It
right,
changes us in some kind of a way. And there can be positive changes, as you said, as you learn to accept, not take responsibility for somebody else's actions, but accept that that you can't do anything about it, right? That it is something that's happened. You can't change it, right? So we can work on acceptance. But the fact of the matter, when you go through those things, it changes you. It
yeah,
does. And it's
forever.
going to change how you see people, how you understand the world around you, whether you trust people.
Yeah, trust is huge.
Yes, yeah, it has a huge impact on that. So yes, it massively affects attachment styles and just our relationships as a whole, frankly,
Yeah,
and how we view people, and how, if we trust them and how we trust them. I
yeah,
smile at a weird place just now, because I will tell you, I think trust is such a big issue. I've decided that I was going to write a book on trust, and um,
awesome.
and there's many components, but now I'm kind of thinking that I might bring in other particular things into that, because there is so much in that area. Though I'm not really sure yet, but trust is big. It shapes our human relationships, all of them,
Absolutely.
all of
Yeah,
them. And
yeah,
when
it
we've gone
does.
through relationships when our trust has been broken, and there's always going to be trust broke. I think you said at the very beginning of this, you're like, I'm not talking about trust of somebody going and having an affair, because trust can be many different things at many different levels. And you
Yes,
said trust, just simply trusting somebody will be there for me, for example, right? Simply trusting other people will think about me, keep my needs in
right.
mind.
Make the
Um,
right decisions.
make the right decisions, want to protect me, care about me, right? That's what we do when we put our trust in other people.
Right.
And that's what they do for us. They kind of expect the same thing back. But there are people out there that aren't trustworthy, as you
Hmm.
just explained. And when we put our trust in somebody and they end up not being trustworthy, that can throw us for a huge loop, flip our world
Absolutely.
upside down.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's interesting how for many, many years, when other people, you would see women on these, like 48 hours, Dateline, different news things, knowing other people that were, and I'll just say it, I can't say it on YouTube because they'll flag me, but that were SA'd, if that would make sense to you, right? SA'd. You detach, you just know that that happened, but then you go, but I put myself in that situation. I was willingly there. I knew them and them. Let me just tell you, it was more than one. So it's multiplied going, okay, you did that to yourself. You don't qualify to be that person that can say, that was me. I am a victim, which I'm not. I am a survivor. And what's sad is I continued after the fact to pretend like it didn't happen and have a relationship, as in relationship, interacting from time to time with these people and going,
as if it was okay.
But I was young. And again, you go, oh, I put myself in that situation. It wouldn't have happened if I wasn't there. Obviously, it wouldn't have happened if you weren't there, because those people wouldn't have done what they did. So it's funny, the dynamics and the dichotomy and the turmoil and the argument you have with yourself over
all
time.
All up here.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe there's one or two people that know about it, and I really don't care at this point in my life because it's part of my story. And again, if it's a relatable thing for somebody else to be able to maybe talk more about it, even say something to me or want to talk to you about it, that's beautiful. That's what we would want, because you don't have to pack that crap around your whole life. You don't have to stuff it. You don't have to sit there and let it affect you in a negative way and affect your relationships. I believe in facing it head on. And so the last, for many, many years, I would probably think about it 10 to 12 times a week. That's pretty much consistent. I'm not kidding.
Wow. That's
it was always there, always there, always there, always there. Not breaking me down. It was one of those scenarios where I know that there was something given to me, so I couldn't do anything. If I would have been able to do something, I would have, and I couldn't. So that's when it wasn't your fault. Hello, those people violated you. Hello. So I had to work through that for a long time, but I just now, for the first time that I'm aware of, actually told my most current relationship that in the last few months. That was it, because of wanting to be transparent and say, this probably is an issue for me when it comes to trust. And that's where I need more from somebody else to help me be in a situation where I feel like I'm protected and that I can trust this person. It's huge for me. And so it's crazy how that affects you. Yeah. It's like looking at a TV screen and remembering things and going, that didn't happen. I wasn't there. That wasn't me. But yeah, it was, it was you. So it's interesting what happens.
Well, there's so much there with just the fact that look how long it's been and how it's impacted you and your relationships, and more so because of how you have then viewed yourself, right, in your relationships, and frankly taken responsibility for something that wasn't yours to take. And that is the hardest thing that I see all the time, is people young girls taking responsibility. Well, I shouldn't have been there. I shouldn't have gone in there. I shouldn't have been alone. I shouldn't have gone into the room with them.
I shouldn't have wore what I wore. I've heard all those.
All of those things over and over again. And so they blame themselves. And I'm like, in a perfect world, you should be able to go anywhere and do anything and never have to worry. So the fact of the matter is, if it was a perfect world, you wouldn't have to think twice about any of it. So does that make it your fault? No.
Yeah.
Would you have ever done, my question is, would you have ever done something like that without somebody else's permission? And they're like, no, I would never have. Never, ever. I wouldn't even imagine or think about it. And I said, well, that should tell you everything right there.
Yeah.
because you would never do that to somebody else, because you're not going to treat them so horrible and violate the trust and take advantage and harm them. You're not that person. So what does it say about that person that did it? What does it say about that they don't care, that they did violate trust, that they did take advantage, that they did, frankly, take advantage of somebody who's vulnerable, because that's really truthful.
Absolutely vulnerable.
Because we're vulnerable.
I had feelings. I had feelings for one of them.
Yeah.
I definitely had feelings for one of them at the time. This was, after a long-term relationship had ended, and graduation night, 1988, I had a crush on somebody, and they both, two people there. It was just, but yeah, it is hard to get over that hump, as you said, where as you're young and impressionable and still just completely vulnerable as a young teenage girl, and not realizing it is not your fault. You would not have allowed that. If you would have had the opportunity to leave, you would not have allowed that. God, no, I would not have allowed that. That was not who I was. So yeah, it is interesting. And the funny, go ahead.
Oh, I just think it's really important to add that even sometimes when people step back and recognize, well, why didn't I fight harder? Why didn't I try more? Why didn't I, I could have maybe tried to leave. I really like to point out how the amygdala in our brain basically triggers the autonomic nervous system, which is our fight, flight, or freeze response. And so sometimes in the moment, people literally just freeze, because that is an autonomic nervous system response. And so a lot of the people I've worked with will say that I could have done more, right? So I blame myself, and they have so much shame with it, so much blame and shame are what we work through. And when they start to recognize that their body was responding it's autonomic nervous system, but I call it the automatic nervous system response. And it is a protective mechanism, because sometimes freeze is what will help people from getting hurt worse, right?
Sure.
I mean, that's true. There's a reason that our body responds that way. So it's just important to recognize that we're going to respond one way or the other to protect ourselves, sometimes without even our own ability, because our brain is going to freeze up. This is like you're in the middle of something that you have no idea what is even going on here. What just happened? How did I get here? What in the world? Right. And it's so overwhelming. You just can't even fathom how this is even happening. And your brain kind of goes into this freeze mode. And some people will even say that they black out, they don't remember, or it's like they disassociate. It's like they're just seeing it over the top, and they're not part of it. Like you said, I wasn't there, but I was. And so that disassociation happens really commonly. So our brain has a huge piece, huge impact in that experience that we're happening when we are just completely overwhelmed, because we're in shock. We're literally in shock at something that's going on. And so recognizing those things really can help people move from that blame and that shame when they recognize that, okay, this is how my brain responded, sent that message, and I didn't really have much of a choice in it, because that's how my body protects itself, right? Is by fight, flight, or freeze, as we all know. Right. And therefore not even the little bit of responsibility. I'm like, it doesn't matter if you're standing in a room, stark naked, and somebody walks in the room. That does never give anybody permission to take advantage of you. No. I saw Europe one time said something that was really, they had a campaign for women, and the campaign was, instead of, just say no, right? It was the opposite. It was yes means yes. And I love that, because it's like saying, if you're not getting a yes,
it's a no.
It's a no. It's a hard no. Right. Yes means yes. And I think that's a message that we need to send to everyone. Yes means yes. If you are not getting a yes, then it's a hard no.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and here's the thing too that is so important to recognize. Perpetrators, they know exactly what they're doing. They know 100% what they're doing. And I don't care if
Right.
people say, well, they've been drinking too much, or, influence, or, they thought that I wanted it, whatever. No, it's the fact of the matter is perpetrators know exactly what they're doing, and they know how to use and manipulate and get people where they want them. And,
Right.
and that's really a hard thing to recognize.
It
So I know
is.
this is a
It
kind of
is.
a deep topic. I know.
It
And
is.
I'm
It
so sorry
is.
that you've gone through this and
Thank you.
you're still
Yeah.
processing it now after all
Oh,
these years.
definitely. And I think the reason why I chose to just kind of I didn't plan on talking about this, but it's all about trust with me, with my relationships. And I know that there are reasons why that is part of my foundation is trust. And I know that talking about these things is part of healing,
Mhm.
and I don't talk about it. I don't want to feel, it's not that I'm afraid of or super ashamed, because obviously shame is part of that, but it's more of a I'm smarter than that,
Mhm.
I and I don't know if that's relating to shame, maybe, but I would rather talk about it, maybe talk with other people about
Mhm.
something similar they went through, because then it's a mutual healing that could be going on
Mhm.
there, to encourage and support and help somebody walk through that, if they also pack that around for 37 years. What was it? What is that? 1988? That's been a long time. Yeah, 37 years. So, yeah, but it's important to talk about it, and I appreciate you giving me a safe platform to talk about it. I probably wouldn't have talked about it if I didn't feel safe, again, and there's trust. So again, and other people are going to listen to this, and people that know me, they're going to go, what the crap? And don't try to figure out who it was. Don't think it's
Mhm.
not even relevant. It's not at all. So whoever listens, it doesn't matter at
But
all.
they're going to.
They are, but
But I'm
I
glad.
don't.
Glad you said just put it out there. It's like don't try to figure it out,
Yeah, it's
right?
it's not it. I had just gotten out of a long-term relationship with an older guy, and he was a saint. And I say that because there were definite sincere loving feelings there, that even though it was not the most optimal situation, and I know that, but it was after that. So I don't want anybody to lay the blame falsely on the
Yeah.
wrong person,
Yeah.
because that's
Thank you.
not the person. Not the
Yeah.
person. No, he's still a good person today. So it's not even that person. So doesn't matter. It was done, and I feel it's important to. People say you're so transparent. I get that a lot, and it's like, yes. Well, now I'm completely transparent, and that's okay, because I want it to make a difference for somebody else, and that's what counts for me.
And I think, Tiffany, I think it will, because I'm kind of blown away about how often this happens in our society. In our society, I will tell you, I was teaching a sociology class at Treasure Valley Community College. I taught some psychology and social work classes there, and I just happened to fill in for somebody in sociology. And so we were talking about different countries. And so I decided to pull up, we're talking about violence in different countries, and in particular, violence against women.
Mm.
And when I pulled up some of the data, I was pretty shocked because, I'm thinking of all these countries at the time, like, Afghanistan, for example, and Iran, and et cetera, that women really don't have any rights and didn't have any rights at that time. And thinking about how oftentimes they suffer the abuse of others. And the United States was listed in one of the top, I can't remember exactly, it was one of the top 5 or 10 countries with violence against women. And that just absolutely blew me away. I'm like, how
Yeah.
can we be a country as we are, a dominant world country with women that have
Civilized.
free, yeah, women that have the free agency, unlike a lot of other countries, and yet have so much violence against women. And they had just finished doing this massive survey in the country, where they ask women a lot of the questions, and they found that they were, um, and that's why they also said that's probably why the United States was up there at the top, because of that particular survey and how much women had experienced between sexual harassment and molestation and, all different types of, especially sexual crimes, frankly. It was related to sexual crimes of some sort or the other.
Right.
But I don't think it's improved a lot. And there's even a group of people right now that are being very hostile against women. And I'm trying to think of exactly what they call themselves. But anyway, and so it's really, really sad. And it's really unfortunate that that we live in a country that I love, that is amazing and wonderful, and yet people don't feel safe. They have to that a young girl has to worry if I should be alone with this person or not. That's my uncle, my dad, my friend, my boyfriend, right? They should never ever have to worry about that in the first place, ever.
No. And it's something that you have kids, and you have a big extended family, and there's the younger generation that, they're so preoccupied with that thing right there that they don't have any self-awareness. And that is such an easy target because, I'm always looking around. I'm always self-aware, but we were raised in a different era where we didn't have to worry about it as much. But then, we were more self-aware because we didn't have all the distractions. And now, I'm a mother of two beautiful daughters. And my biggest fear is that they'll be distracted one day coming out of a store or something, or followed home from a bar out at night, partying with their girlfriends. This is like every mom's nightmare, to think about what happened to me could possibly happen to my daughters. But they are more self-aware than most. They both have weapons of whatever sorts. And I have pounded into their head of, do not ever just get in your car, shut the door, and get on your phone. You get in the car, lock the doors. If you want to check your phone, check your phone. But don't do it till after you lock your doors. There's all these things that, you want. He's like, I shouldn't have to sit there and tell my kids all this. But it's the world we live in. It's the world we live in. It's being self-aware all the time. And it is a shame that as mental health declines and erratic, crazy behavior is on the incline, and so much anger and it's just mental health issues. I don't know what you want to chalk it up to. There's so much more brazen behavior out there in this world now that it's easy to assume that you're going to hear about something happening targeting a woman every single day because they're vulnerable, they're the weaker species, and it's an easy target, and it just breaks my heart. So I would die if I could honestly say I would murder somebody if somebody messed with one of my kids. I'm just telling you right now.
Right.
I'd go to prison.
That protective parenting in us, the mama bear all the way. And
Mama bear.
I've said that all the way too. I definitely want to add a couple things to what you said. I think, which just as equally, if not more alarming, is that many times it's not those strangers, right? It's not the stranger as we hear and talk about. Almost always is people that are, and this is why it goes back to the attachments and why it's so hard, is because it's people that we typically trust. And it can be uncles, aunts, it can be parents, it can be grandparents, it can be a boyfriend, it can be a boyfriend's a friend of our friends, right? Boyfriend.
Exactly. Your friend's boyfriend.
Right. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
But they're people that we trust. And and those people have access to us. I think that's important to recognize. They have access to us. And then they can also work on building our trust. With younger children, we talk about grooming and building trust and how that works and why that happens. And so it is a lot about trust. And it's sadly enough, oftentimes the people that we trust the most are the perpetrators. It happens all the time.
Right.
And I want to add one other thing to what you said. You talked about, being kind of detached because I think there's a couple things. People are more detached with their phones. They're not having those one-on-one conversations. And so feel free. There's no filter. They feel free to say and do whatever they want to, right? And so they don't have that filter anymore. And I think that's creating a lot of this horrific, these negative feelings and these horrific things that are happening with even just communication, the breakdown in communication because of what people are saying to each other. It's really sad, the things that they're saying to each other and how harsh it can be, because if they're face to face with that person, they wouldn't be saying it that way, but they can sit behind the screen and say whatever they want to because they're bold and brazen when they're behind the screen and there's no filter.
But they're cowards at the same time, right? They're cowards, and that's the only way a coward can operate, and it's very sad.
I think that's an excellent point. Absolutely. I want to add one more thing about the screen thing, though, and it's a whole nother way of manipulation. Trying to think of the right word, but the fact of the matter is, we're running into a society that we really haven't been exposed to lately. Some of the things that I've seen that have been, to me, some of the most alarming are, frankly, is sharing of videos of intimate videos. We'll say it that way. Intimate videos and without a person's knowledge. And that is just horrific. It's happened in a couple of schools around this area where people share their intimate relationships and they go share it with they video it without the other person's knowledge and they go share it with their friends at school. Could you imagine having your friends, having people at school, having seen you exposed in that way?
God, that's terrible.
Imagine that.
It's a crime, isn't it?
That's a crime. It's a huge crime. And sometimes it just gets skirted away and it blows me away. Well, he said, she said, well, the video was there, so they deleted it and people saw it. So it happened, right?
Oh my
and
gosh,
it's
terrible.
Frankly,
that's traumatizing. So traumatizing.
Yeah.
Can't even imagine.
Horrifically traumatizing. And that's another thing that our younger generation are now having to worry about that they never used to have to worry about before.
Right. Yeah. Again, your trust is shattered forever. Trust, because you wouldn't normally be intimate with somebody unless there was a level of some sort of a relationship there, which has to do with some trust at some level. So that's been completely violated. So this young woman, more or less, it's going to be the target, it's going to be the woman, the girl, is forever altered. It's just the way it is.
And when they're young and they don't understand and fully get what that person has done, because well, I love them and people take pictures, right? They normalize it. They make it less than what it really is. And then they go to school and they see that person. And like you said, they could just kind of be friends with that person or still have some interactions, even though in their gut, they know it just felt horribly wrong and it wasn't right. But they struggle with at that young age, they struggle with making sense with it at all. And it just creates all kinds of complication. And then of course that impacts them and how they feel and think about themselves and how they trust themselves, right? Because now they don't trust themselves to make good decisions.
Right.
And that's not always the case. Sometimes it leads to more of those same kind of decisions, frankly, because it's already happened. So what else could happen that's worse, right? I mean,
right. Yeah.
It can lead down to more bad decisions, frankly, a lot of the time.
Oh yeah. Well, and I don't know, I kind of flip-flopped a little when I threw that story in about my experience. I don't know if you caught that after that was multiple bad relationships where they cheated on me. Yep. And the only stable environment I had from 17 to 24 was when I met the girls' dad. And he was the safest place I'd ever felt. And it wasn't necessarily mad love. It was a safety thing for me. Yeah. And to this day, I still feel safe with him. We have a great relationship.
Oh, that's great.
I'm trying to get him to come on here with me and talk about co-parenting separately because we've done a fantastic job. And we spend so much time together, because we have our beautiful girls in common. They've always felt that no matter what, mom and dad are united. And we've been apart since 2001, but we raised the kids in the most beautiful way separately that we could. And I'm a huge,
Kudos
huge
for you
advocate.
guys. Kudos for you guys.
Huge advocate
I hope he
for
does come
positive
on.
co-parenting.
Yeah.
I do too. I think he's nervous about it. And it's like, look, I'm not going to sit there and bring up embarrassing things. I just want to talk about what we did. How did we do this? Because people have told us for years, you guys should write a book. You should write a book because the way you operate and how you do things. And I've always told any relationship in my life after him was, he's my family. He's part of the equation. So my kid's his dad. And I moved from Southeast Boise to Caldwell for a little over a year, but then went to Winnemucca in 2010. And my situation in Southeast Boise with my second husband, and then my third husband in Winnemucca, it was like, this is the way it is. This is this is it. So it's a deal breaker if you can't accept him, because when we go on trips, he'll be the guy that wants to come stay with the kids, and he can come stay with the kids. And it was always like that. So but there was something about him. And what's funny, you want to hear this funny story? We actually met through mutual friends after I moved back from McCall, after just kind of a string of crazy up there. I needed to do that though for myself. I'll tell you about that another time.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah. I met Chuck, and then instantly just felt safe. He wasn't the typical guy that Tiffany might go for, but there was just something about him. And it's almost like God said, that's the guy that you're going to have the most amazing children and grandbabies with. So this is, you just get married and do it. So we got married 30 days later.
Oh, whoa.
So there's
30
Tiffany.
days.
30 days later.
Wow.
Yep. And we had a great time. We did. We had a great time. We traveled a lot. We had 2 beautiful kids. He was a great dad. He didn't have the best childhood and not a good dad figure at all in his life. So he wanted to be different and do different. And he is. And he's a great guy. So, but it just ended up where you're like, I need passion. I need that connection I wasn't getting because we were so close, but not like lovers close, not like fluid partners, like madly in love with you partners. So it had to end, but we had 2 beautiful, amazing girls, and that was God's plan. So, but yeah, that's our story. That's why I want him to come on here with me, because we're going to tell our story and all the good and some of the ugly, but there's very little ugly. You got to have your bumps over the years. So, but yeah, I believe that he was the first man in my life where I actually felt safe and trusted him, and we're still really close. So there's something to that. He's super smart, super deep, and we can have these crazy deep conversations and have a true love for each other because we have these beautiful children and we have that in common. So I love it. And I want to tell, I'm going to bug him again. I'll bug him again and say, all right, Dr. Becky says, you got to get on here with me. Yes.
That's right. Just use me. I'm good with that.
Exactly. Anyway, I got off on that a little bit, but.
I love that example though. And you're right. That's really needed because there's so much, frankly, damage that happens when parents split and they don't co-parent in the healthy way. And that again has a lot to do with attachment, right? And and we see kids getting thrown in the middle of it all the time. And it's really unfortunate. It causes lots of harm to children. And so when you can co-parent in a healthy way, you can really help your children so much. As a matter of fact, we saw the trend going from there was a trend in the 50s and 60s, families just stayed together no matter what.
Right.
And then we saw slowly divorce trends start to go up, and they hit, I think their peak was clear back in the 80s. Oh, don't quote me on this because it's been a while since I looked this up. So do not quote me on this.
Okay.
Okay. So it might have been more like the 90s as I think about it, more like the 90s when divorce were really high. And then it's like the next generation came along and they said, wait a second, that was ugly. That was awful. And so we're going to try really hard start to work on staying together in relationships.
Right.
And then the divorce rate started going down because of that. Now
Yeah.
what I'm seeing is more of a delay on getting married. Like, let's
Yeah.
figure out if
Yes.
things are going to work, or let's take some time. We don't have to get married when we're 19, 20, 21 years of age, right? And so we're seeing this
Yeah.
generation taking a little more time before they get married, and maybe because they're trying to be more committed. I don't know. Again, I'm just seeing what I observe, frankly.
Right. Yeah.
But all of those issues wouldn't have such an impact, with it if people just co-parented in a great way. Because frankly,
I know.
kids are resilient, especially younger ones. They're very resilient. And
Yes.
if you can continue to provide them the homes, even 2 homes, right, that are very positive and healthy homes, then they can thrive in that. And
Yeah.
especially with parents that are working together, even if they're not in a long-term relationship. I always say when you have children, you're always in a long-term relationship. That
Yeah. That
never
is definitely.
changes.
Yep, yep. And that's what's funny is over my life of, failed relationships or whatever, my kids were always the constant.
Mm,
And some of the best times I ever had through that kind of chaotic transitional phase of my life was when I was a single parent. And I just, there were times that I thought, man, why would you even want to get back in another relationship? Because this has been so great and we knew who we could count on, and there
mm,
wasn't that extra person in there that could kind of mess up my flow, my attention,
mm.
all of that. And it does. I never had to deal with that. My parents, they've been together since the dawn of time, and never had to deal with moving, uh you know starting over, step parenting, step
Mm,
siblings. I put my kids through some stuff that if you want to say regret, I know there's always good that comes out of everything, but as a
sure.
parent, I feel like I have the right to say, yeah, I kind of wish that I wouldn't have done that. But again, they know now after we've talked about it and stuff that, there's good that comes out of all
Sure.
of this adversity and the ups and downs
Right.
and the moves. And, they graduated from Winnemucca. That's where
Mm,
my kids graduated from. Now,
okay.
they each of them have little nuggets that they took from it, but Sid more, my youngest more than the oldest,
Mm,
because she moved. I say I moved them at such a pivotal time for her 'cause she was a freshman in high school
uh,
and somewhat of a wallflower. So that it was like, it's hard from a mother who is very out there, very not shy, very, I can
mm.
conversate with anybody. I can talk to anybody. I can
Really?
adapt to any situation.
You?
Yeah.
Really? I would have never
Huh?
known
I thought you were a wallflower.
that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, here I have a daughter, the oldest, that is a
Mm,
bit of a wallflower and very kind of reserved and shy and has some anxiety issues. And it's like,
mm,
boy, did I put her to the test. And I feel bad about that sometimes. But, again, she wouldn't be who she is today if it weren't for those things. And I have to kind of remind myself of that sometimes. And I think that she feels the same way too. But there were times I think that there was some resentment there, rightfully so. Rightfully so. But if we can work through it, then that's all I care about. And Sid did better because Sid's more like me.
mm,
She's more out there. She's a cosmetologist. She works on people, and she has really great conversations with people for hours at a time, doing hair and doing all that stuff, and
mm,
doing weddings and makeup, hair and weddings and stuff. She builds these great conversations with people. So they're very different in a lot of ways, and I think they both took certain nuggets away from the crazy ups and downs their mother took them on. Good God.
mother.
Yeah. Mother. Yeah. But I just pray that, that it does serve them well.
Mm,
And they use it. That's what I say. Use it.
mm,
Use it. Use it. Because I've used everything that I've gained, learned, suffered through, went through, whatever. I'm using it. I'm using it. It's fuel to the fire for me. And
mm,
I just hope that it is for them too. And I know they have a great relationship with their dad,
mm,
super close with their dad. And that to me, I think that actually got better their relationship as the distance was an issue, because there had to be more effort made on both our parts to make sure that they were always able to spend time together. So I think that really made a difference in a lot of ways. And I again, silver linings, right? That's
Yes.
what I try to
You're
see.
so good with silver
Yeah,
linings.
I try just because I just not going to be that wallower. I don't wallow.
No wallowing.
No wallowing. I'm going to make a shirt
No
that says no wallowing.
wallowing. That's
No
right.
wallowers. That's a mouthful. No
It is.
whiners, no wallowers.
Yes, whiners, wallowers. That's a tongue twister right there.
I know, but it's a good one.
And I love the resilient nature of everything that we've talked about, and the human power to be able to change. And you know, you're such a good example of that. And I love the fact that you are being vulnerable. And, you know, that's kind of interesting when you think about it, because your pattern has been avoidant and not so much being vulnerable, right? You've always been a powerful woman, but there are certain things that you have avoided, right? And here you are just sharing to empower. I'm going to say sharing. Okay. I was going to say throwing it out there. No. but for the purpose, because it's true. When we share our stories, we can help other people. And
Definitely.
And that is so wonderful, that I know your heart's in the right place, and you've gone through a lot that a lot of people will be able to relate to. Frankly, I've seen it in counseling on a regular basis. So I know how many people. I used to think every other woman I worked with has gone through, you know, what you've gone through.
You know what? Nobody would ever think that I had that happen, because it doesn't define me, obviously, and it's not something I pack around and like, this is my armor, you know. No. So I think the majority of women, you would not know unless they made that a subject, you know. Seriously, it's just.
And they don't, for a lot of reasons, right? A lot of reasons. It's embarrassing sometimes. You know, there's
Shameful.
Also, frankly, there's ego that goes into it to play. Like you said, like, I know better, right? I think that's a very, very common thing that a lot of people will say. And that goes back to our self-ego, and I'm an intelligent woman. And so I think there's a lot of things that come into play for reasons. And of course, the shame and blame, as we talked about. But I just think that your examples and what you've shared really help us to see how life's, frankly, toughest experiences, that through it all, as you've navigated these, that you have still been able to stay connected to what really matters. And my thought for you especially is your worth and your power. I see that in you. You've really stayed connected to what really matters. Of course, your family obviously matters, but I'm talking about something personal, which is your worth and your power. And through all of it, you have stayed connected to that. And I'm going to say more than connected to it. You've grown in that. And I think that is wonderful. And so, as I say, don't ever let anybody take your power away from you.
No.
Don't have that
bad for the guy that tries.
No. And for anybody, and if somebody's saying negative things and trying to do that, I sometimes I think of it as like, you know what, I don't have to tune into that. It's kind of like a weak signal with our Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah, that's good. Been there.
I don't have to tune into that.
Yeah. It's true though, because it's funny what we allow to get in there and start rattling around. And it's easy because we're human. And when somebody claims they care about you,
and we're connected human beings.
Yes, right. And when somebody claims they care about you, whether it is a spouse, a sibling, whatever it is, any relationship, where they say, I feel this way about you, I blah, blah, blah. But then their actions are hurtful, hateful, vindictive, rude. And then you keep hearing stuff and you're just like, wow. Because I know who I am. Yes. I know what I'm worth, what I'm capable of, what I have done, what I continue to do. And it's like, man, you are so wrong. So if I don't
Yeah.
value that, I know they're wrong, and I know that their opinion doesn't define me, or shouldn't have anything to do with me at all, because I can't control what they think about me, nor do I care. So their opinion doesn't, it's not relevant. So the fact that that can still affect you when you know deep down in your core, these people are not my people. If I wasn't related to them, I wouldn't even be friends with them. Whatever this thing is, why do you care? It's this dynamic. You're like, damn it. But it is what it is. And I try to put it in its place and just move forward and fill my head full of positive, the loving, the kind, the nurturing, the people that I know want to be in my circle, and I'm developing all these relationships and deepening these relationships. That's what matters to me, and my family, my immediate family. Yeah. And my parents.
Yes. And I just love how you said that, because basically what I heard you say is I can make choices. I don't have to listen to others. And in fact, no one gets to tell you your value but you. Nobody gets to but you.
That's beautiful.
And I think that's just so empowering to recognize that. And also to know that we can say that we don't care, but we do, because we're human. But if we do what you just talked about, replacing it with who I truly am and who I know I am. And, for me, a lot of it does come back to my Christian belief. I'm God's daughter. And so that to me is empowering. And I know that I have worth, and I will always have worth. Nobody can take that away from me ever. And that can help me to maybe make those other voices a little bit weaker, maybe even mute.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Right?
Mute. Yeah.
Mute.
You know that you've grown exponentially is when you can lay there at night on one side of your heart, head, whatever you want to say, is still hurting and kind of ruminating. But on the other side of your heart is, I'm going to pray for them. I'm going to pray for them and their, health, well-being, and that one day they find peace. Yeah. And that's all that I say. It's never anything more, but that's when I know. I struggled with that because that was big for me. I pray all the time. I'm like multiple times a day. And that's huge for me. And that was a big deal for me because I couldn't get there. I couldn't get there for a while. I'm like,
It's called pride and ego.
Yeah, it is. Yes, exactly. And so I like get through it, fight through it, and then, okay, you got this. You can do this.
And it's incredible because when we let go of that pride and our ego and we're able to pray for somebody who has wronged us, right? As we see it, right? Maybe we wronged them and we're not even seeing that. But when we're able to do that, it's interesting. It's like we think that we are, humbling ourselves and not being so prideful, and that maybe we feel weakened, right? Because we're not strong and we're not standing up for ourselves and fighting against that person. But it actually has the opposite effect. It is so empowering because we don't realize this, because we now have taken control over ourselves 100%. And we are no longer letting people get to us. When we let other people get to us, we're giving them our power, right? And so by being able to pray for them, pray for those who have hurt me, who have wronged me, we are so empowered and we have control. And that is amazing to feel that. And I love how you said, then I know that I've experienced growth, because that's a huge step.
It is.
Me. Many people cannot do that.
Well, some people might say you need to forgive and blah, blah, blah. And I have mixed emotions about forgiveness. I would rather pray for somebody than say the so-called I forgave them. That means that I did it and it's done to me. That is not the process, in my opinion. It is an ongoing thing. And I think that forgiveness requires, and this is my opinion, okay? Forgiveness, yes, is for me, absolutely. But when somebody took away my trust and my ability to function and feel safe in this world, this is Dr. Ramani, by the way, that I learned this from. They took away the safety that she felt in this world and the trust that she had. I do not forgive. That's what she said. You need to look at that clip. It's Lewis House and Dr. Ramani talking about forgiveness. It impacted me so much because I couldn't get there. I could pray. That was a huge step for me. I got there. And I thought that was way more important than just me saying to myself, oh, I forgive them. I don't need to tell other people, I forgive this person, because that's nobody's business. But that to me was too big of a hurdle because it did disrupt my life. And for somebody that is so easy to disrupt my life, I don't care about what people think I should do. I would rather pray for them and their safety and peace and growth as a person and being touched in some way eventually by God, rather than say I forgive them. I think it actually holds more water to do that, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think that's very insightful. You actually have caused me to pause and think about a few things. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
And
good.
One thing I think you're right. We recognize that forgiveness, I think, is oftentimes portrayed as a magical fix, right?
Right.
And I know the Bible talks a lot about forgiveness, and it's really not for the other person, it's for ourselves. And from a Christian standpoint, I truly believe in, judgment, and people will be judged according to their works. And so but it's not up to me to be the judge, is how I see it. It's not up to me to be that. And so that's why, but if you looked at what forgiveness is, and you can almost say it's, what came to my mind as you were talking about this, is that forgiveness is a word to get away the hurt, and it's a process of helping us to transform. And it can be really a very powerful tool for healing. But for some people I've worked with have said, forgiveness, I can't do that. And so we've worked on things like, I typically will go to acceptance with those individuals, because we can say things like, I can accept things I can't change, I can't control, that have happened in the past, or that there are wicked people in life that take advantage of, other people, right? Whatever that it's called radical acceptance terms.
Yes.
That is very part of mindfulness and frankly, Buddhism too. But so I work with people on that. But I think if you look at the purpose of forgiveness, it's about freeing yourself, not the other person. So what you just did is you described a very powerful tool called prayer to free yourself. So to me, it's doing the exact same thing, but in just a different way. And I kind of want to say, in even a more powerful way, a much more powerful way, because you're not just saying I forgive, but you're seeking change from the Lord, change for that other person, to protect that other person from hurting other people, maybe, or whatever the case may be, right? Or from doing more damage, or maybe they're miserable in their own self, so you're actually seeking them to be happier, whatever the case, right? There's a million different levels of forgiveness and situations. So I think praying for something is, frankly, beyond just saying I forgive.
It's the ultimate, right? It's the ultimate.
It is like the ultimate.
It's above forgiveness. Because I just don't see it as my job or my necessity for me to do that. I just don't. Yeah.
I want to say you did forgive, and you bumped it up a notch. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Frankly,
well,
Tiffany.
And that's okay. Just saying the word I forgive, to me, that's an ongoing daily thing. For people that could say I forgive, and they shut that door and it's done and let's move on.
And frankly, usually it's a progressive step. So I agree with you, and the people I worked with, it's usually progressive. And the other thing is, I like to point out that forgiveness is not something that means that what happened was okay.
Right. And you don't condone it.
Yeah, people oftentimes think that that forgiving means that person is not held accountable anymore.
Right.
And they're not responsible. And I really try to help clarify that is, in fact, they are just as responsible. They are just as accountable, and they need to seek their own forgiveness for what they've done, right? They need to take those steps. And if they're not willing, then they are going to suffer the consequences of that. And that consequences could be day to day in their actions with other people, right? Because they're not willing to take ownership and make the changes they need to. And it could be long-term consequences. So whatever, forgiveness doesn't take it away. It absolutely doesn't mean what they did was okay. Acceptance doesn't mean that what a person did was okay. And that is so important. When I've worked with people through that process, they've come to understand it. It doesn't mean that what happened was okay, because it's not, I can do something wrong and I can go ask the person for forgiveness, and they can say, okay, I forgive you. But it doesn't mean what I did was okay, ever.
Right. Oh, no, exactly.
No, it's not okay. And that's why I had to ask for forgiveness, because it wasn't okay. What I did.
And it's okay. If somebody asked me for forgiveness, that would be a totally different thing. And I would have to really think hard about that.
Right?
Yeah,
and they're taking ownership,
and
they're thinking about their actions and what they did to you.
Exactly. What I did was wrong. What I said was wrong. Whatever it was.
Right. Whatever.
And that's different. But yeah, it's a mixed bag for me. And I do know, because of all this stuff I've been doing, that when you lay forgiveness down at somebody's feet, so to speak, you are unburdening yourself of that. And I get that. But my way of unburdening myself is to lift them up in prayer instead. And yeah, the other is kind of irrelevant for me as a person. Not saying that that's, I never try to tell anybody else what to do. This is where I got through this for me. And I thought that was the healthiest thing I could have done for myself, because prayer means a lot to me. And if I'm going to pray for somebody, then that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Yeah.
That's how significant it is. And yeah, it does so much more. It provides comfort and strength and peace, right? I think it, forgiveness can help with that, but prayer is exponential. Because we're seeking it from the Lord, who's providing that comfort and that strength and that peace, and maybe softening the heart of the person that has offended us, right?
That's what I was going to say. That all my prayer with that, with everything that's happened and these people involved, is softening of the heart, softening of the heart, softening of the heart.
And it's really true. It is a softening of the heart. I had a situation where somebody had done something wrong and it wasn't acceptable. And, and I felt like I just kind of moved forward. I don't even know if I used the word forgiveness, but I just moved on, trying to hold that person accountable, however, still. But that person died kind of tragically. And, I just found myself praying for that person. I didn't have any negative feelings whatsoever. And I think that's a reason for prayer. The reason for forgiveness is because we harbor these horrible negative feelings and thoughts, and they fester in us. Yes. And they can create even physical health issues.
Absolutely.
That way we can have all kinds of health issues, emotional, mental health, when we harbor anger and resentment.
Yes.
And so whatever we can do to get rid of that anger and resentment and heal ourselves. And I found myself just really, I was kind of shocked, and like, I didn't have a single bit of feeling of hurt or resentment. And I just prayed for the person. I just prayed for the person's soul. And it was a strange thing to find myself doing that. And that was how I responded. Right. So how many times people will say, well, they get what's coming from them, or I hope they're in hell, or whatever. Right. Yeah. I'm like, this really super hostility that, and you can imagine that tortures the body and the mind, both the body and the mind.
Yeah.
People get ulcers and they get stressed, and
absolutely.
and even illnesses can fester, like cancer can get worse when we're not positive, when we harbor, right? There's all kinds of research that show that people who are positive actually do better when they're going through treatment for cancer. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, because all the chemical and hormonal reactions going on in our body, it's that's why I have a hard time when people are always ruminating and negativity and always bitching and moaning and just anger and and it's like, hey, what is going on? There are so many good things in this world, and just don't let something so ridiculous affect your whole day.
Right?
It's just, yeah.
It's like road rage like or whatever. Get mad about everything. You just want to go, like, take some deep breaths.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Like, you don't even know that guy. Who cares what he does? You'll never see him again.
And they don't even probably know what they did. And how many times have you done that to people, right? I mean,
exactly.
Really.
Yeah. And they don't give you a second thought. Why are you wasting your time, energy, and brain space?
Right, the energy
it's all about energy
that goes into the negative emotions and the negative thoughts. What we could do with that energy is incredible.
We could power up a small town.
Right? Oh, more than a small town. We could power up the world with that energy.
I know. If we all were on the same wavelength, I know. And it's, you and I've talked about energy before, and how you have this positive, loving energy, and I have a positive energy, and it's all about gravitating towards those people that give you that same thing. And it's almost like there's an invisible line of Christmas lights that go between you and these people that you find, and you're going, hey, reading your energy, love it. That's where I'm at. And so again, learning what I've learned in the last couple plus years, I have really, really, really zoned in on energy, positive, loving energy. I'm all about it. And it's funny how, like I had mentioned many times, and I'll continue to mention it, everything happens for a reason. And the complete shift in the family life and all that around here has really shown me that I can choose the people I want in my life. I choose them. I don't have to be tethered to them just because there's a bloodline. Doesn't mean anything to me anymore. It really doesn't. I choose to have you in my life because you bring the loving, positive energy. And if there's anything other than that, I don't want it. I can choose that now.
Yes.
And if they chose to if they chose to cut that line between us, thank you. I'm so thankful that you did, because again, I choose who I want to be around and who I give my love, my heart, my energy, my whatever to, because I just don't have time for the negativity and the chaos and the drama and the BS. It's like nobody should settle for that. I don't care. And it's funny how, and we should do a whole nother episode on how there's this constant conflict when you talk to people. It'll either be, well, they're your family, you should blah, 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 make amends. I'm good. No, I'm good. I got family. They may not be blood, but I got family. And they got my back, and they respect me, and they love me, and they accept me for who I am, and they know me because I've had them for decades. And I want that. That's my family. So you have this difference. And then you've got, which you've probably seen in what you do for a living, is more and more people, for whatever reason, are choosing to disconnect from family. If it's toxic, if it's something they don't have the same belief system. I'm not saying I agree with all of the reasons why I see what's going on, but it's getting really common. And I think people are really learning that I don't have to be tethered to that. But I get it now. I choose not to have that. I want energy. I want love. I want respect. And I want the same type of walking the path in the same direction to enlightenment, to learning, to growth, to love, peace. I'm talking like a hippie now, but I'm telling you, I get it. I get it now.
Or a Buddhist, one or the other.
Or a Buddhist. There you go. Thank you.
You're a Buddhist.
Life is so damn short.
Yeah.
So short.
Gosh, I just want to say amen to what you just said. It was amen. Because it was so profound. in the fact that we can choose. We have the ability to choose those relationships and to choose. I want to add something though to it. I think it's important to recognize, a lot of times the reason families want to try to like make peace with your family, right? Because it's healing, right? We don't want to have those negative feelings that people harbor. And so that's a huge part of it. But here's the thing, Tiffany, you have to recognize that maybe everybody doesn't, is how much effort that you have put into your family and how much effort you have put into any relationship, right? You put so much effort into it. And so I think there are some people who don't put effort in. When it gets tough, they just walk away. So that's a difference, right? There's different scenarios. So we want to make sure and send the right message. Just like when I work with couples that are considering divorce, and I would many times people are like, well, you should stay married for the kids. And my reframing is, if the kids are the reason you choose to work on your marriage, that's great. If that's the only reason you have, like maybe you feel like you've fallen out of love, but if they're your motivation to work on your marriage, then let that be your motivation. But here's the key. You're working on it to get to a better place, right? And that's the key. It has to be, because nobody wants anybody to stay in a horrible, awful relationship for a long time. And so the whole goal is to work on it to get to a better place. Well, and if you can't get to a better place with your family, no matter how much work you've done, or a friend, right? I see it just as common with friend relationships or a spouse relationship, whatever relationship, then that is when it's time to say, I have the choice. I'm going to choose. But the path of trying is very powerful because we learn and we grow from it. And sometimes we can choose those relationships. I mean, we can change those relationships by making the effort. And so I can choose now to move away from that relationship. And you're right. We're seeing a lot of the younger generation doing that a lot more. My only concern is maybe put a little effort in, because sometimes when you're young, you don't always understand things from a different perspective, right? You're only limited to your own knowledge. So maybe reach out again, give it an effort. Doesn't mean you should stay in the relationship, but if it gives you an opportunity to heal and potentially have a great relationship that you never knew you could, that's a wonderful thing. But the nice thing is you're not committed forever. I mean, never. It's about, life is about our own personal journey, and we can make it what we want, and we can choose who we want to have on that journey with us.
Definitely.
All the way. And I just love that you talked about that, so that people do recognize it and can be empowered, either empowered to make change, right? Or to make choices to change the relationships.
Yes. Amen to that. And I think that is the perfect way to end our 2.5 plus hour.
I don't think we talked enough, Tiffany.
I love it. I'm telling you, that's why we have to do this once a month. I'm telling you, my friend, it may end up coming down to once a week at some point, because this is just too good. But I really appreciate you so much, and your wisdom and what you know, because of your experiences with different clients, different things that you've seen over the years, obviously your education, everything that you just bring to it. I just am so grateful. And I can't thank you enough for doing this with me again, girl. It's awesome.
I just want to thank you for inviting me and also letting me feel your energy. And that is amazing to me. I just want to say your energy and your example of your own personal growth is pretty profound. And there's so many things in that. But we could keep talking. So
I know. It's like, gosh, it's coming up on the 3-hour mark, but I'll chop it in half and just make them hang on like, they're hooked and they have to come back for the second one. Thank you. I appreciate the free therapy as well, because it really does help to talk to you, and you gave me a safe place, and that's why it just kind of came out. So I appreciate you giving me that safe place to talk and work through that a little bit and give me some insight.
It's a privilege. It's a privilege if I can in some way impact you on your journey and what you're doing. So thank you. It's definitely a privilege.
Yes, thank you. So reminder, be sure to find Dear Dr. Becky on YouTube. And how often are you putting out content? I don't know if I've
I
even
was
asked you
doing
that.
once a week for a little while, and then with several things going on with I haven't been, but going to be starting that up again in the next month. So back to once
Okay.
a week is the plan.
Awesome. Good. Well,
There may
I
be
understand.
delays here and there, but that's the goal.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful, and I look forward to the one that you said that you posted on feelings and how that
Feelings,
impacts
why,
us. And I'm
how they
yeah,
can
so
lie
I'm
to us. And there's one
exactly
on thoughts and about how thoughts can lie too,
okay.
which is
I'll go
interesting.
find those.
I
Yeah.
could do a lot
So
more on thoughts, but yeah. Okay, go find
yeah.
those.
Okay.
I
Yes.
can't wait
And
to
I
hear
will.
what we're going to talk about next time.
Oh,
Woohoo!
I know. We
You
got it. It's
just
like,
let
oh my
me
gosh,
know.
what? I know. Well, I'll make sure and I'll add the link down in our
Oh,
YouTube
awesome.
channel and on everything so people can just bounce to you.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
again, thank you so much. And gosh, yeah, I don't even know how we can top this one, but we'll try. Anyway, thank you so much, Becky. I'll
Well,
talk to you soon.
it's at least therapeutic for us, right?
Yeah,
It's all good.
it is. All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
We'll
Thank
talk to
you.
you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.